Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucamus Prime here. So, it is time for the next episode of Movie That Didn't Need a Sequel. Now, in today's video, guys, I'm going to be covering once again an example of a horror movie which, in my opinion, did not need a sequel. And it's an example, in my opinion, as well, of a horror film that should have stayed on its own as a standalone movie. This is one of my favourite horror movies in the slasher genre of all time, and one of my favourite horror films of the 90s decade as well. This was, of course, released in 1992, directed by Bernard Rose, and is based on the short story called The Forbidden by Clive Barker. And this film, which in my opinion did not need a sequel, is none other than 1992's Candyman. So yeah, now, you guys are probably wondering, what do I think of this movie? Well, I really love Candyman. It's one of my favourite slasher movies of all time, one of my favourites of the 90s decade as well, as I just said, and it's also one of the first slasher films that I've seen as well. Because last year I of course got into the horror franchises, and this was one of the first ones I ever saw, and I definitely really loved watching it. It was brilliant, and definitely an example of a horror movie masterpiece. And it has a great story where it follows a Chicago graduate student completing a thesis on urban legends and folklore, which leads her to the legend of the Candyman, the ghost of an African-American artist and the son of a slave who was murdered in the late 19th century for his relationship with a daughter of a wealthy white man. And it has a great performances from the cast. So I, of course, definitely love Virginia Madsen as the graduate, of course, called Helen Lyle. That's easily my favourite role of Virginia Madsen, and she played her part really well. Let's also, as well, not forget the incredibly awesome Tony Todd as the Candyman himself. Candyman is easily, in my opinion, his best performance of all time that I've seen. And he was definitely a perfect casting for a role. And it's also amazing as well how he has such a deep, menacing voice as the character without any effects needed or anything like that. And do I also need to talk about the incredible practical effects of the bees on him as well, which were real bees? Wow. There's no way I'd be able to do those scenes with bees on me because I've got a phobia of bugs. So yeah, praise to Tony for that. And the film also has an amazing ending as well, which perfectly wrapped up the story and didn't set up anything after it, because at the end of the movie, Candyman promises to release Anthony if Helen helps him strike fear into Cabrini Green's residence. Attempting to feed his legend, Candyman reneges and attempts to burn both Helen and Anthony in a pyre. The flames destroy the Candyman himself, and also Helen dies, saving Anthony. So right there, Helen sacrificed herself to save Anthony. So she and Candyman both died to save, and she saved Anthony's life. So yeah. So that was definitely a great way to end the story, and Helen's sacrifice was also really good as well, and it definitely closed her story really well. So, as far as I'm concerned, guys, that to me is the end of Candyman. There was no sequel baiting whatsoever, and they shouldn't have done any more after that at all. However, unfortunately, despite this film having a great ending which perfectly wrapped up the story, and of course killed off Candyman, unfortunately, this was deemed not to be, because we of course got 2 sequels to this in the 90s. And the first one, of course, was 1995's Candyman Farewell to the Flesh, which was definitely an example of a very disappointing sequel. I don't know what happened at all with it. I really don't know. For example, one thing it does, now what's done about this is that it acts like it's a standalone film and ignores the events of the first movie. It literally feels like it's like a reboot or something, because it doesn't feel like a sequel at all. And apart from Tony Todd, who in my opinion still tried his best with Candyman, he was given in this second movie, I feel that, every character in this I could not care less about. They were so forgettable and nowhere near as likeable or as memorable, in my opinion, as the characters in the first movie. And the film was also really boring as well, with lots of dumb moments as well. And it brings back Candyman, doesn't even explain how he's come back after, of course, he got destroyed in the pyre in the first movie. So, like, it makes his defeat and Helen's sacrifice pointless to do sequels with him back. It's ridiculous. So, I guess maybe Tony Todd's performance and I guess some of the horror and Philip Glass's music was still good, in my opinion, in this second movie. And I also didn't really like how they kept showing, like, flashbacks to Candyman's life and all that, like, because that's taken away the mystery of his character. Some characters, in my opinion, are better off being left as mysterious, because that's the whole point, you know. If you want your character to be mysterious, then don't show the backstory and all that. Keep them mysterious, because that works really well. However, though, despite, of course, this second movie, you know, having negative reviews, unfortunately, it was followed by a third movie, and this third movie is, in my opinion, the worst of the worst Candyman films to me, which is none other than 1999's Candyman 3, Day of the Dead. Like, wow. This movie was complete trash from start to finish, and was definitely, in my opinion, the worst one. It's also so far the worst movie of 1999 that I've seen as well. Like, the year that I was born, and that was the worst movie that I saw released in that year. Like, wow, this movie was absolute trash. It was also as well released as, like, a direct-to-video movie as well. And this movie was just complete trash from start to finish. It's also, as well, in my opinion, guys, an example of a film in which there is no redeeming quality. Like, honestly, guys, right, tell me what's good about the third movie, please. Because, in my opinion, I don't see anything good about Candyman 3 at all. Because this movie, in my opinion, is trash. So, now, you guys are probably wondering, you know, what about Tony Todd's performance? Did he save the movie? Well, I'm going to say no, he did not. Because this film, in my opinion, completely ruined and massacred Candyman. Because unlike the first two films so far, he was ruined in this movie. Because compared to being the iconic, terrifying villain that he was in the original movie, in this film, guys, they made Candyman goofy. So that made me really angry when I saw this. Like, Candyman as a character was so annoying to watch. And it breaks my heart because of how much I love Tony Todd's performance as him in the first movie. Like, they really ruined Candyman in this by making him so goofy and unlikable and annoying. Like, honestly, what happened? And also, the other characters in the movie I did not care about at all. They were all unlikable and annoying. Like, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Nothing good about it, in my opinion. And the kills were so lackluster as well. I do also believe it's a different company, maybe it's compared to the first two films, so that's probably another reason why it failed miserably to be good. So yeah, this film, in my opinion, was absolutely terrible, and so I believe it's of course got negative reception. I mean, it's got a low score on Rotten Tomatoes at 7%, so I'm not surprised. And Tony Todd even admitted in 2008 that he considers this film to be a poor entry, so yeah, and I couldn't agree more with him on that. And also as well, there was also going to be a fourth movie after this movie, but it thankfully got cancelled. Thank goodness for that, because yeah, this film, Day of the Dead, in my opinion, was complete trash. It's a full-on 0 out of 10 movie, in my opinion. Nothing good about it, in my opinion, at all. However, though, despite, of course, this fourth film being cancelled, unfortunately, we then got a direct sequel in 2021. Which was actually a sequel to the original movie, and it ignored the second and third films. Now, while I was glad this film ignored the two sequels to the original movie, unfortunately, I found this direct sequel to be a massive letdown, which of course was 2021's Candyman movie. Yeah, simply called Candyman. Didn't add like a new title or anything like that, which is really confusing for new viewers indeed. And this film, in my opinion, was badly rushed, and once again, characters that I couldn't really care about. I mean, when it comes to the main character, of course, which is Anthony from the first movie as an adult in this, played by Yaya Adomiti in the second, I thought he was much better in this than he was as fake Morpheus, as I call him, in the Matrix Resurrections. But still, my favourite role of Yaya always will be Black Manta from Aquaman, so, yeah. In this 440, it was a little bit bland, but slightly better than he was as fake Morpheus. And other characters I didn't really care about, and I also as well did not like the villain of this, which was William Burke, played by Coleman Domingo. Like, I thought he was a pathetic villain, and him becoming a villain came out of nowhere with poor development, and that was just ridiculous. I prefer Coleman way more in things like Fear of Walking Dead and Without Remorse and other things he's been in. But yeah, William Burke, in my opinion, was a pathetic villain. And when it comes to Candyman as well, what's ridiculous is, despite this film having Tony Todd come back, you know, for this, as it was confirmed in the release to it, he doesn't even play Candyman in the scenes where he kills people. So, like, I don't get that. And then, at the end of the movie, of course, he appears in a cameo appearance where Anthony turns into him, and of course, Tony then says, "Tell everyone." So yeah, I feel that Tony Todd was really wasted in this movie. Like, ridiculous. And yeah, and the film also had a way too fast pace. It was badly rushed, in my opinion, not thought through. So yeah, this film was a letdown, in my opinion. And while it might not be as bad, in my opinion, as the second or third movies, it's still, in my opinion, a letdown. And that's why, in my opinion, guys, Candyman was better off as one movie to me. Just one. So yeah, if you want to hear my full thoughts on the 4 movies in a bigger detail than this video, then go check out my ranking video that I did last year. So yeah, like, so honestly, ever since the first movie, none of the films after have been good, in my opinion. I mean, I think the 2021 movie is one of the most overrated films because it had positive reviews for some reason. I don't know why, because I think it's a letdown. So yeah. Anyway, guys, so that was me doing the next episode of Movie Didn't Need a Sequel. I was saying why, in my opinion, Candyman was only one movie, and I will only ever own the first movie on Blu-ray like I have here. I will never buy the sequels. Hell no. I only watched 4s on Sky, and of course, the 2021 movie was, of course, a Prime exclusive movie, so I watched it on Prime. It was also a letdown. So, yeah. And so yeah, guys, to me, Candyman is only one movie, and in the future, I will definitely post reviews for the movies, but apart from this one, which I will give a full-on positive review because I love this movie, I will give all 3 of the other movies trash talks because I hate all of them. Screw all of them all the way. So you know, drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let me know in the comments what you guys think of Candyman. Do you think it needs a sequel? In the comments below what you think. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe in the coming future. If you would like to be a member, you can press on if you're using a piece of laptop, or you can look at the description, and I'll see you all later.